welcome to Haken, an Animal Crossing podcast, your podcast dedicated to all things Animal Crossing. This episode is brought to you by Grizzly Nina. She has just increased her pledge on Patreon. Not just, it's actually a while ago. I'm way behind on these. Anyways, today, Sergio and I will be talking about 18 years of Animal Crossing and the possibility of an Animal Crossing Switch delay, which is very sad to think about. But hello, Sergio. How are you doing?
Hello, Chewy. I'm doing quite well. It's been a busy but fun weekend. What about you?
Mine has been it's been a relaxing weekend for me. Just like, out of nowhere, I was just like, I don't really want to do anything. I'm not going to focus on anything. I still haven't even made my weekly update for today.
Oh, yeah.
And it's already 8 p.m. for me, which is fine. I'm okay with this. So yeah, it's been just kind of a relaxing weekend. I decided to take a break out of nowhere, which I think has been good for me. And it's been good just because, I don't know, I've been feeling a lot of tension, I think, just thinking about Animal Crossing constantly. And I've been at the point where I'm just like, I need news. And
Right.
I'm tired of being there. And I'm just ready to be focused on, here are the games that I have currently that I'm enjoying, and then here are the games that I'm looking forward to that I know have release dates at least.
Right. Mhm.
So yeah, I think I needed this to just kind of like change my mindset and get out of that.
Yeah, for sure. It would be so easy for Nintendo to fix all of our feelings if they just said anything, even if they said you're getting news at some point. Like, just give us some type of definite timing, but this everlasting silence is just the worst.
Yeah, it's been nonstop since September of nothing.
Yeah.
I guess you could say it's non-starting, actually. So yeah, I guess before we get into our topics, I did want to remind everybody that we are having a Haken monthly movie night every month. Like, that's what monthly means. So the first one's going to take place on Saturday, April 27th, 2019 at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. I've created a group on Rabbit so everybody can join. You can find the link in the show notes or the description on YouTube, wherever you're watching or listening. You'll be able to find a link to join the group. But it's going to be fun. We're going to start with the Animal Crossing movie, which is, of course, a classic for us.
Yes.
And then every month we'll watch something else, and it should be a lot of fun. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, really looking forward to it, and then just chatting with everyone during the movie after. It's an awesome time for sure.
Yeah, and you can chat during it because there's like a chat room there and everything.
Yes.
It's good. It's a good place to be. So Animal Crossing has turned 18 today on Animal Cross Sunday, as you like to say, Sergio. I always think of Sundays as Animal Cross Sundays now
Nice.
because of you. So anyways, it's 18 years old now, literally today. The first Animal Crossing game came out in Japan on April 14th, 2001 for the N64. And I guess since then, our lives have changed.
Oh, yes.
I mean, not exactly, because, it still wasn't in the States. It still had some movement to go through to get there. So the GameCube actually came out later that year. So 2001, the GameCube
Right.
came out. I think it was in September or so. So Animal Crossing only had not very long, not even like half a year on the N64 before the N64 was gone.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that's a pretty unfortunate time for a game to come out. There were several others that kind of fell in that time zone. I think like Banjo-Tooie, the second Banjo-Kazooie
Oh, yeah, that's
game.
right. I believe so. Hmm.
Yeah, that came out right at the end of the lifespan. So it's a weird time. But anyways, it did come out on the GameCube later. I think pretty soon after that same year, it came out on the GameCube in Japan.
Hmm.
And then from there got ported to the US, which we got it in 2002, which that's a really quick port job. I wonder how long they were working on it to get it over here.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Yeah, so I guess to celebrate, I wanted to go through some fun facts about the first game. And I guess I should have done the series in general, but I was just focused on the first one since, it's the one that really kickstarted it
Yeah,
all.
that's right.
So originally, Animal Crossing wasn't going to be ported outside of Japan. It was going to be a Japan only game. And this decision was made during its development, which is pretty interesting. And once that decision was made, the team went ahead and decided to make something truly Japanese with the experience. So the
Oh,
game is, as Japanese as it gets when
yes,
it comes to like Nintendo games, because you have things like Mario, which I think is just loved throughout the world. But
yes,
then Zelda is one of those weird franchises where, it's a Japanese game. It was come up by Japanese developers, but it's not as big in Japan as it is in the US,
that's
which is
right.
pretty interesting. But Animal Crossing is another, I guess, I mean, it's still big outside of Japan, but it is huge in Japan. Animal
Yes.
Crossing is a phenomenon. And it's so fun. I'm really glad that it is. But the way it came over was they kind of threw it to, I guess, the Nintendo Treehouse team, and they started playing the game. And I think they just got like kind of a rough Japanese version. And then after a little while, I think there were several team members working on the game, and they were all fighting for the cartridge every time it was
Oh wow.
they would like race to be the first one in the office to play the game that day. um, so yeah, after that they were just like, yeah, we want to port this game over, and so that's how it came to be.
All
Um,
right.
the original game came out 3 times in Japan. Sergio, I'm going to ask you. I mean, you probably looked at all of these things. Maybe I should have made it a little quiz show for you. But what are the 3 times that it came out in Japan?
So originally, yeah, it came out on the N64. Then very soon thereafter, because that was the end of the N64, basically, it came out on the GameCube. And then the third time it came out on the GameCube again. That was the basically a Japanese version of the GameCube game that we got. So they really liked the extra stuff that we got, and they said, "Hey, we want that too. Let's bring it over to Japan."
Yeah, that's how it happened. The US team did a really good job on the game, and then they were like, you know what, we want all of that in
Yes.
our game as well. And then they also added some extra things too,
Right.
which I'm really sad we don't have. Things like being able to wake up Tom Nook at night by hitting his the store with a shovel and then getting to shop. That I wish we had that, because and we'll get to this later, because I always wondered where Tom Nook lived. Like, that's been a big mystery
Oh
for me.
yes.
um, so the other fun fact is the most recent release of Animal Crossing was on January 1st, 2006 in China on the IQ Player, which, if I remember correctly, the IQ Player is this like little device that allows them to download different Nintendo games to play.
Hmm.
And this is like an official thing that Nintendo allows. So this is a legit copy of Animal Crossing. The other thing is, with this Animal Crossing game, it's not the most up to date version of Animal
Oh wow.
Crossing. It's the N64 version,
Oh.
which is unfortunate because so much was added post N64, but still, like, it's still a charming game. Like, the people at Nintendo Treehouse were able to see how fun it was and decided to add things onto it.
Yes, a big thank you to everyone that was there, wherever you are now. Thank you so much, because imagine if they kind of just felt, yeah, this is too Japanese. I mean, we could try, but nah, let's leave it over there. Ah, I'm so glad they brought it over.
Yeah, because it's life changing for us, of
Yes.
course. The last fun fact I had here was that 2030 is the last playable year on
Oh.
the original game, and that I'm going to talk about this later too. But it's sad to think that at one point there will be an Animal Crossing game out there that cannot be played in real time.
Oof.
That hurts my heart to think
That
about.
is, yeah, that is mind-boggling, because that's the basis of the whole thing.
Yeah, literally the whole point of the game will be gone
Yeah.
by 2030. It just won't exist anymore. So I came up with some questions to ask both of us, and I wanted to go through these because they're pretty fun.
Sure.
This one's just a history thing for all of our listeners who may have not tuned in from the very first episode. They may not know this. But the first question is, when did you first get into Animal Crossing?
So for me, it was in the summer of 2004. And funny enough, when I was actually typing this, I kind of corrected myself. For the longest time, I thought it was 2003, but no. Yeah, it was 2004. It was basically between high school years, between sophomore and junior. Actually, yeah, no, between junior and senior. I was trying to get a summer class for math. I was a pretty big nerd by then, and I still kind of am. I do miss math. And none of the schools around me had the class that I needed, so I ended up getting a part-time job. My first job in a like a little fast food joint. Actually, I put the name here because you might know it. It's Taco Ready. It's pretty local here in Southern California. So
I don't think I know it.
no.
I don't think so.
Okay, yeah, it only has a couple of locations, but yeah, it was it was rough. Definitely retail or fast food is not my thing. So I remember the only nice thing was getting my paychecks and actually having money for once. And one of the first things I did was I bought a couple of used games during a sale, including a pre-owned copy of Animal Crossing for the GameCube, and that's when it all started, summer of 2004.
That's pretty awesome. You know, I think the first time I played was also 2004,
Oh,
if I'm correct. I think at that point I must have been, I guess I don't have time to look at a calendar and count it out, but I think that was my freshman year of high school, which is when I started the game, which would have been just after summer 2004. So just after
oh
you, I
wow.
got into this game. You've been a fan longer than I have. Um, though, to be fair, I heard about this game like 3 years prior from a friend. But no, it's not a competition. But yeah, I borrowed it from a friend in high school. We were both in welding class together. Yeah, pretty
Oh wow.
strange. My school had welding. But yeah, her name was Julie, and she let me borrow the game because we were talking all the time about different stuff. And she said she had the game, and I was like, I've always wanted to play. And she was like, I'll bring it to you. And so she did.
Ooh.
And then she eventually just let me keep it. So I am fine with that. I'm 100% fine with that. I think I came out with a good deal.
Nice.
So the next question: who was your first favorite villager in the game?
Okay, well, sadly, I honestly don't remember. I really don't remember anyone except one, and that would happen to be Apollo, the eagle. And I mean, I that's the only one I remember, and I remember, of course, he was cranky, and he was kind of off-putting to me. He was intimidating, but yeah, I remember I didn't really like talking to him. But yeah, that's the only one that I remember for sure. I had Apollo. He lived towards the southwest corner. I remember that.
That's pretty fun. Yeah, the cranky villagers, they definitely are not very inviting in that first game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, my first favorite villager was Pancho, the jock bear,
Yes.
and yeah, he's awesome. He's just like a little blue bear cub, kind of purplish actually. Like a very dark, deep color. But yeah, he was a jock, and I thought he was super fun because he lived right at the top of the cliff that was pretty much an acre away from me.
Ooh.
Um, so yeah, every day I would walk down that way and I'd stop by and talk to my best friend Pancho, and he'd be running around hanging out, and sometimes he'd ask me for a ball, and I'd be that was a struggle because the balls would never appear like at a point where I could easily get them
Oh
to him. They would always be like at the bottom of the slope, and
yeah.
I never
Oh.
figured it out. I couldn't ever get him a ball, but it was always the cutest when you could do it because that you would see them like running around and kicking it, and I was always jealous that I didn't have those
Yeah.
skills. Yeah, I could not dribble the ball in that game. So, who was your favorite special character in the first game who wasn't KK Slider?
Oh.
And I make this specific because I think both of ours were, of course, KK Slider. I mean, it's hard not to like the guy. And I know you, I still know how you feel about KK Slider. So I had to include that so we would pick somebody different for our audience.
Right, someone different for once. Yeah, for sure. And if that's the case, then I'm actually going with Tom Nook. I just felt like we kind of made progress in the game together. You know, he starts off kind of just wearing an apron, and he has the small store with a couple of items every day. And of course, as I progress as the player, he did too. His store got bigger. I know it wasn't my expense because I was giving him so much of my money, but it just felt nice that we kind of both went through the game together.
Yeah, that's true. Like he's a big part of your time in the game. Like he's always there.
Hmm.
He's and so you talk to him probably more than any other character because you're just going back and forth. You're buying things, you're selling things. It's just over and over.
Yeah.
So I changed my answer here. I was originally going to go with Tortimer because I love tortoises and turtles and all of those things. And I always really liked how kind of funny Tortimer was. Like he was just an old dude. Like he felt like an old grandpa character, which is
Yeah.
exactly what he is. um, but I changed it to Crazy Red, and it was mostly because I consistently felt cheated by Crazy Red by how expensive his stuff was. But it was exciting. It was exciting to see his tent there, and it said black market on it with black crossed out, which is adorable. And then yeah, he would have like some rare things that you just never found. And so I thought it was a nice change of pace to see there was somebody out there who was also selling things, but it also kind of shows you that though Tom Nook is technically a monopoly in that first game, where you buy everything through him. He even
Yes.
sells you the clothing, which the Able sisters should be the
Right. Right.
ones selling you clothing. But he has a monopoly on the place, but like he keeps the prices pretty fair when you compare them to Crazy Red.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Crazy Red, I think he's fun. I think he's quite the character. He's just out there. I
Yeah.
think it's fun.
Yeah, for sure.
So here are some more tough questions. Probably more tough for me though. Did you ever time travel?
Honestly, no. I don't think I even knew that was possible back then. So no, no, I did not.
Okay. My answer is I put a lot of dots around it, but it's yes. And it wasn't in my like normal town. Um, it was it, I think after Pancho moved away, that took away a lot of my drive from my town. I felt like I didn't feel like my town anymore after Pancho left. And so
Oh,
I took a
yes.
break from the game, and then when I came back to it, I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna experiment with this a little, see what you can do. And so I noticed you could change the clock and stuff, so I did it. And I was just like, oh, I wonder what you can do while you're time traveling. So I jumped around for a little while. Um, I think I reset that town too to play like a more legit version, but that was my time traveling experience.
Cool. Sidebar question. Let's see. If you had more than one memory card, could you basically have more than one town?
Yeah,
Oh, that's so easy. I wish it was that easy nowadays.
yeah, I know. It's surprisingly way harder now to just get more than one town.
Right, right.
I think it'll be easier come Animal Crossing Switch with the different profiles on Switch, but
Right.
outside of that, like this was the only game that really let you start a new town with that same game disc,
Yeah. Cool.
which yeah, like we just need that. Okay, so here's another question. Did you ever reset?
No, at least not on purpose. I might have forgotten to save, but no, not really like a town reset. No.
Okay, this is another dot 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 yes answer for me. um, I think early on in the game, I didn't really know. Like, at this point, I'm in high school, and I was like, "Oh no, I did something wrong or something," and so I just turned it off. And I was like, let's see what happens. And then, Rossetti pops up, yells at you. And then I was like, this just doesn't feel right. Like after that,
Hmm.
it didn't feel right to me. And so I stopped resetting after that. I think if I did reset, it was actual like power outages and stuff. Because
Oh
when I
yes,
played, it was winter time and there was a lot of snow where I grew up, and you know, just telephone poles and power pole lines would get cut every once in a while because like a branch fell or something.
right,
And so, you know, the power would go out at my place a lot growing up. And so that would be like a reset for me.
right.
Outside of that, in the new town that I made just to like mess with all the things, I think I did do the thing where I just reset over and over to see what Rossetti would yell at me every
Right.
time and see how far he would go.
Nice. On the Switch one, that's probably not going to be an excuse anymore, a power outage, as long as you're playing dock mode. I guess the only thing is if you run out of battery on the Switch itself.
Yeah, I mean, you can still play handheld
Right.
and run into a situation where you're gonna run low on batteries because you know we're gonna be playing this game for hours on end. It's
Yes.
gonna happen. It's bound to happen. And then you know, I know there are a lot of people who have been saying that they love hand Animal Crossing as a handheld game.
Mhm.
So I'm excited for them to get to the point where maybe the easiest place for them to charge their Switch is on the dock, and then they're like, "Huh, maybe I'll play this game on the TV for a little bit." Because I
That's
want
right.
everybody to experience both parts of it. I want them to
Yes.
experience handheld and TV, and just know that like this game is beautiful. It's gonna be so beautiful. So yeah, I'm just excited about that. Um, so the next question I have for you is, were you ever mean to villagers in your town?
Well, I might have used the net for something other than bug catching. Yeah.
Well, there you go. It counts. It's pretty mean to hit them, Sergio. You shouldn't be doing that. But you know what? This is another dot 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 yes answer for me. Yeah, I mean, like, it's hard not to have a rival in the first game. And my rival, I've talked about him before. It's Vladimir. He's a cute little pink bear
Oh.
cub, and he's a little jerk. All the time, he's mean to you. And so one day, I tell this story all the time, but he told me I better not touch the money that he's hid in the trees around his house.
Oh.
And so I shook his trees and took his money, and then he got really angry with me. There's steam coming out of his head, and yeah, I mean, he forced me to do it. He gave me all the tools I needed. One, anger. Two,
Yeah.
information. And so I had to do it. I just had to. So here's another question for you. What were your feelings about Tom Nook in the first game?
Oh, well, yeah, I could tell that he kind of liked money a little too much, but there was basically no other choice. You had to pay him to if you wanted items and to sort of progress through the game, and especially building your house. But like I said, I just felt like we kind of both progressed at the same time. So yeah, he was nice to talk to, and he was a little money hungry, but he was cool.
Yeah, so this is the first thing I mentioned we were going to get back to a piece of information, and that was I always wondered what he was doing with all the money I was giving him. I wondered where he lived because I imagined it was like a huge home, and I couldn't get to it because he's in like a rich town or
Yeah.
something. And then I was also sad if I clicked the option for him to repeat his speech after you
Mm.
buy your home. Because at the beginning of the game, he was a talker. He would just keep going for so long. And like you would say, "Yes, I want to live here." And then he's like, "Okay, let me tell you every single thing in the game all at once." And then he does. And then if you just you're trying to scroll through this as fast as possible, and
Right.
if you keep clicking that B button, I think it
Oh,
makes him repeat it.
yes.
So you have to be very careful when you're getting to the end of his speech, otherwise he'll say it all over again. But the main thing I wanted to focus on was just like I always wondered where he lived. And I know in the Japanese version, the E plus version, you could wake him up in the middle of the night, and you just find out he kind of sleeps in his store, you know, which, oh, poor dude, he needs a home. He sold all of them. um, but yeah, I wondered where he lived, and I guess I didn't really dislike him. I felt like our relationship was mutually beneficial
Right.
because I was like, I get all a lot of money from you from selling things that it's kind of
Yeah.
garbage. It's just a bunch of fish. So I'm glad that you're okay with buying from me. But yeah, outside of that, I was like, I didn't mind that he always wanted more money to upgrade my home. I was just like, yes,
Yeah.
please upgrade my home. I want this.
Nice. Yeah, for sure.
So my next question is, this one's a random one. Who's your favorite, Phyllis, Pelly, or Pete?
I'm actually gonna go with Pete. I just like the fact that he's actually the one that's out and about in your town.
It is fun that you'd get to see him while he's delivering mail
Right.
and that sort of thing. So it's pretty fun. I'm gonna say Phyllis, and mostly it's because like I feel like I miss Phyllis. Like I feel like I haven't been playing at a time of day, or I don't know. I feel
Hmm.
you know what it is? I feel like you don't see them enough because the post office has kind of changed in the game.
Hmm.
Like once you've finished paying off your loan, there's not much to go back to unless you want to keep sending letters to
Right.
people. And it's not like you can send letters to other towns, to players in other towns
Oh.
at least. So I don't know. I feel like you just don't go into there enough and you don't see either Phyllis or Pelly very often.
Hmm.
And it's sad, but I did always like how mean Phyllis was because it was funny. And I always thought like maybe if I talk to her enough, she'll start being nice to me, like Sable,
Yes.
but she never does.
No.
She's just mean the entire time. All right, so this is my last question. I actually snuck a secret question at the end for you,
Oh.
but that one's a surprise. Do you feel you'd ever go back to playing this game? The first game, Animal Crossing Population Growing. I mean, of course, we're going to go back and play Animal Crossing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Only if anything, it's because it's the most unique of the mainline games, and not only that, but it's the original, and it's the first one that I played. So it has a special place in my heart, and definitely worth more playtime in the future for sure.
Yeah, I love this game. um, I'm going to say yes. I think what I'd like to do is a 2030 Let's Play at the very least,
Oh,
if I don't visit the game before then.
right.
Because I'd like to play every single day that year. Um, just to be able, like, I want to be able to play the game for one more year while the calendar still matches up with real life.
Yes. Hmm.
Because it makes me sad to think that, like, once we get to 2031, we're never going to see this game in real time again. Like, that's just going to be gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's tragic to me because that is not the way I play Animal Crossing. I'm not a time traveler, though I said I have in the past. I, and I don't know. I want to play the game like it should be, but I feel like it's just not going to be playable like that anymore.
Yeah, and that kind of gives the game an ending, basically like a set end time, and it could also spark some competition, like how much can you do in a year?
Yeah, that's true. That'd be pretty fun to see. I think the hard part is like you'll only be able to do so much. I don't think you'll be able to do everything slash get every item
Right, right.
because it's so hard to get some of them. Like the NES games, I doubt you'll get
Oh.
more than one of them. And you'll have to get like really lucky during the toy day to get more than one. So this is my last question for you. Do you think there will be a year when Animal Crossing never comes back? I'm talking like it's just over. The last Animal Crossing game has come out and they're never making a new one. Do you think that'll happen ever?
Oh man, that's a tough question. It's happened to some Nintendo games, but there's still always the possibility of like a new F-Zero, new Kid Icarus. I mean, it happened to that one. So I just from my heart, I want to say no. I want to say that it's going to be a constant. There may be times when the wait between mainline games it's like 8 years, like we're almost at right now. But I think it's always going to be around. At least I hope it is.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I feel like the fun thing about Nintendo that a lot of people don't know is that this company is over 100 years old. They have been around doing things to entertain people for a very long time. And so I'm pretty sure they're going to keep trying to be around. And as long as they are, I think they'll make another Animal Crossing. I don't see why not, you know? Um, because even if they shrunk down to only a Japanese market, they would sell to that Japanese market. Like it's a very Japanese game.
Yes,
It's
yes. Mhm.
it's got a very big Japanese fan base. So I think they'd keep making it for sure.
There's also the possibility what if the game just ends up being like an MMO type of thing? That could make it sort of everlasting in a way.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. And we do kind of have like Pocket Camp, which is
Right.
in some way like a game that's probably not going to end. Like there's going to be somebody working on it and updating it. And it's at the point where I'm like, I don't think it's going to be over once Animal Crossing Switch comes out. Like
Mm,
I think they're going to still update that game and keep it running because it's it's at least getting them a little bit of money,
yeah.
probably,
Right,
I
right.
think. All right, well, that was fun. I'm excited. I'm excited because there's a lot of things to come with Animal Crossing, and I don't know. Well, I guess I'm excited, but this next topic is also a sad
Oh.
topic. So this next topic is Animal Crossing Switch delayed or going to be delayed, or
Mhm.
just are we going to get some bad news about Animal
Right.
Crossing? So the other day on Twitter, it was going crazy. People were thinking that Animal Crossing was going to get delayed. Specifically, the reason was that Animal Crossing was no longer on the coming soon section of the US Nintendo site. And fortunately enough, I check that site all the time, pretty much like every other day, because it's an easy way to look at what games are on sale and that sort of thing. So
Right.
all the time I click on the game section and I'm looking through the games, and I have never seen Animal Crossing Switch even listed on that site yet.
Ooh.
I feel like we're still waiting to see the game show up there. So it has not been removed. It's just something somebody probably noticed and thought, oh, maybe this game was on here. The only Animal Crossing listing I've ever seen on a Nintendo site was on the UK site.
Oh.
Um, that's the one that's shared in our Discord a lot of the time, but I have not
Right.
seen it on the North American website at all. So yeah, that's just my thing. I check the site all the time, and the first day, I know the first day I would have seen that game on the website, I would have shared it all over the place. So
Oh, yes.
because I'm waiting for like an official Animal Crossing page to look at. I've been waiting for this for so
Yes,
long,
yes, that's right.
so it's natural for me to just look at it.
Yeah,
Um,
because we would be checking it very often just to see an update, to see that little text to go from 2019 to, I don't know, September 2019 or something. Yeah, we would be on it for sure.
yeah, definitely. But that said, the other day, you and I, we had a little discussion, a little talk on Discord, and we both essentially were feeling like Animal Crossing is going to get delayed.
Right.
We were both feeling like it's a real possibility. So I want to check in with you. Do you think the game is going to get delayed beyond 2019?
Well, for sure. I really, really hope it doesn't happen. But honestly, at this point, it's sort of like a 50-50 shot whether it gets delayed, whether it makes it in 2019 or it gets delayed. It's a shot in the air, 50-50 chance. And I think a big part of that is because Nintendo has so many games that they have announced and shown, which is nice for a game to get that treatment. And they have a lot of those already coming this year. So they have plenty. They have everything they need, and especially there's rumors, heavy rumors of the Switch getting not just one, but maybe two revisions, two different versions of the hardware. I think with that and with all the games that are set to come out this year, Nintendo has more than enough to sell to people, to market, basically to be concerned about. And even if Animal Crossing is sort of ready to go and they could make it in 2019, it might be better for them. It might make more financial sense to hold back to it. And this has happened before with a very recent game, Yoshi's Crafted World. They showed it as far back as in E3 2017. And who knows when the game was done? I honestly cannot tell why it was delayed so much, especially because it didn't really have Labo support. And basically, we got the game 21 months later, which is crazy. But it's sounding like it was held back a lot. So I feel like the same could happen to Animal Crossing. It could be ready to go, but Nintendo might be thinking, this makes more sense next year. And I'm afraid of that, but I can see it. I definitely can see it.
Yeah, now that you're saying that, specifically the Yoshi things, I do remember hearing that the game was done. Like the
Hmm.
game was done in 2018. They could have put it out at any point, and yeah, knowing where they are now with Fire Emblem, for example, where they expected that game to be out early 2020
Right.
or 2019
Right.
rather. Um, so they expected that game to be out early 2019, which was springtime, for example.
Hmm.
And they know where their development is. They know what when they're on track with something. So they probably figured, all right, this game Fire Emblem, it was going to be our spring title, at least something that kept us putting out some type of game
Yes.
during the season. But now we know it's going to get pushed back. Let's put Yoshi in that slot just in case. So it could be a thing where they, hold Animal Crossing because of that.
Hmm.
And I would be bummed. I'd be really bummed. But you are making a lot of sense too, though, with saying like there's a lot coming out. There could be some Switch revisions, which could be a big thing, and there could be, there's already a lot on the docket that's coming out that's
Yes.
been announced. There's Pokemon Sword and Shield, Luigi's Mansion 3, Zelda, and then I feel like there was one more. Was
Well,
Zelda
it's those
Link's
through,
Awakening?
right? And then you said Fire Emblem, which we know, July, and then Mario
Super
Maker
Mario
2.
Maker 2.
Yes.
Yeah, those are 5 Nintendo games straight from the mouth. And you've got Yoshi that already just came out.
Hmm.
Box Boy and Box Girl that's coming out, I think, this month.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, so that's 7 Nintendo games essentially. And Animal Crossing, I hate that to be the game that they keep putting on hold.
Oof.
And I know the reason would be to give the team just more time to localize, more time to do things. Because of all of these games, I would imagine this game is, just the hardest to get localized and ready for everywhere. Especially because the Switch is not region locked. The new games that they put out for the Nintendo Switch have to come out at the same time because other people would
Yes.
just opt to buy if it comes out in Japan, they're just gonna switch to a Japanese account on their
Yes.
Switch and just buy the game on the Japanese eShop.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a game that needs to come out at the same time everywhere, and it's also a game that kind of needs a lot of localization power to come out everywhere. There are a bunch of different Nintendo headquarters that are doing different things. Um,
Mhm.
so every place just needs to be on it, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. And when you put it that way, which is a very good point, it's basically the rest of the world is holding it longer from Japan. So
Yeah.
I mean, imagine Japanese Animal Crossing fans. They have a little more right to be concerned and complain.
Yeah, that's true. Japan, they got the game in 2012. So it this year will mark what is that? It's 2019.
7.
7 years since the
Oof.
last mainline Animal Crossing game. And that's why I keep saying like if we're going to keep waiting, if we're going to wait 7 years for the next Animal Crossing game, I'm going to need an Animal Crossing game that lasts me 7 years. So, yeah, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
For me, I think the possibility of a delay is definitely there, but I'm still waiting for E3 personally. I just think we still have a shot to see it there because, we listed a bunch of games that are on the docket, specifically Pokemon Sword and Shield, Mario and Luigi, or not Mario and Luigi, Luigi's Mansion 3, and then what was the third one?
Zelda?
Zelda, Link's
Yes.
Awakening. Yes, we've seen all of those games, but we've
Hmm.
only really seen one trailer for each of them, so they're not that far ahead.
Hmm.
And so we still need all a lot of info for a lot of different games. And so I think E3 is really going to be the place that really the place for that. That's where what we're waiting for. So I think right now the game is still coming in 2019, and we'll probably get confirmation of that on April 25th when Nintendo puts out their financial report, because they usually put out like a calendar of upcoming games at that
Yes.
time.
Yes.
So we're probably going to see once again just Animal Crossing 2019, and they're like, okay, now just wait a month. It's almost E3, people. We're gonna show you. So yeah. My other question for you is: do you think this game would be delayed like Metroid Prime 4?
Well, I don't think it would be that much of a delay, basically like a rebooting, or that something is really wrong and they kind of need to restart basically from scratch. One possibility that I was thinking, basically, because if the game does get delayed, I'm going to be very curious as to why. Uh, One of the only possibilities that I can think of, and in many ways, it actually doesn't really make sense. But if Pocket Camp is not doing so well for Nintendo, and they want to just say, you know what, this is really not worth upkeeping. Let's just sort of kill it and have everyone migrate to Animal Crossing on the Switch. Then that can explain a little bit. They might just want to keep Pocket Camp around for a little bit longer, just so they can make the last that it can give them, and then we get the full release on the Switch. But it's very hard to say how much Nintendo considers Pocket Camp a success. I think any money is good for them. Nintendo's mobile games tend to do very well, even if it's not like the most successful for them. It's still a successful game in terms of comparing it to other mobile games. So that would be one explanation, but I don't even see it happening. So I it's hard to say if there's a delay. Why? Why is it getting delayed?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's going to get delayed on par with Metroid Prime 4. I think the thing with Metroid Prime 4 is a very unique situation. It's very
Yes.
rare for somebody to go and completely scrap everything, um, to the
Hmm.
point that they just have to restart development, you know? So I just don't think they'd do anything that would force them to restart the entire development process. I feel like it's pretty easy to go, I guess, in the right direction with Animal Crossing. Um,
Hmm.
and I feel like the team has proven time and time again that they are good at growing what exists in Animal Crossing, as well as
Yes.
adding new things, you know?
Yes, for sure.
So, yeah, I feel like they have the skeleton there. I don't think they have to stray too far from it. Um, because it's a kind of a gameplay focused game, in the sense of like it's a life sim, and it's established what you can do in that world. And I don't think they would change that too much.
Right. Hmm.
So I think the base stuff is still there, and even if they restarted development, that's still there. Like, they have a lot to work off of.
Yeah.
So how would you feel if the game were delayed into 2020? And when do you think it would release if it did?
Okay, well, yes, it would be very upsetting, but there is one pretty big positive aspect for that for me, that it doesn't sort of cancel the upsettingness of the delay, but it would be very nice. It would allow me to play Pokemon Sword and Shield sort of in peace. Like, I would be able to play those two games with my full attention. For sure, if Animal Crossing is out by then, I might even have to hold off, or I may just play that on mobile very, very rarely. So that would be tough. But like I said, if it does happen, it would allow me to sort of play those games. And if the game does get delayed, though, I don't think it would be too much. I don't think it would be any later than March 2020. I think that would be the month.
Okay, that's pretty good. I didn't even think about that, because I have been spending so much time playing other games and getting through them. I've almost gotten through a couple games this weekend alone.
Ooh,
But yeah, I guess you're right. Like you would get more time with games that you know you're not going to think of
yes.
once this game once Animal Crossing is out. So yeah, I get that. But that doesn't change the fact that yeah, I'd be bummed, and that's probably me just putting it
Yeah.
mildly. I'd be probably more devastated than bummed. Um, but yeah, I'd expect the game to come out at the end of 2020 still, just because that's what I have done with 2019. I'm just like, at no point do I believe it will be at the beginning of the year, just because I have to put it at the very end to keep my hopes
Oh,
from dying,
right,
you know? But knowing Nintendo, they might avoid showing yet another Animal Crossing game at E3. And so they could skip E3 2019 and then put the game out before E3 2020
right,
and then be like, great, now I just can't trust E3 to be the place to show us Animal Crossing, you know?
right. Hmm.
So I'd be pretty bummed. Um, and unfortunately, that would be just another time that Nintendo lets us down at E3.
And
So
it's tough because I was, I was, I was really thinking the possibility of a delay, and the more you kind of think about it, the more you have to start accepting that it's a real possibility at this point. I think a big part of that is the radio silence that we've been going through. For sure, any news, anything at all, would kind of keep us hoping that 2019, it's a possibility. I know it still is, but like I said, the silence really doesn't help. However, any little bit of Animal Crossing content, I happened to run into a stream of New Leaf on yesterday on Saturday, and I got so hyped again. And I was like, no, 2019 is the year. It has to happen. It's gonna be so awesome to play this with everyone in Haken, and just having always somebody to play with and to help out, and to just play the game together. It's gonna be amazing. So it's difficult to be going back and forward like this with it's getting delayed. No, it's not. And I'm hyped. Now I'm not. I just want something.
yeah, and like I said, I don't think we have to worry until E3. If
Right.
it doesn't show up at E3, that's when I'm going to start worrying. I'm going to be like, all right, Nintendo, I don't really believe you anymore.
Yeah.
I don't think you're putting this game out that I really, really want. So, you know what? Fine. 2020 then. I'll wait for that. But
Right.
yeah, I think until then, I think we can rest assured 2019 is still the day. I'm excited for April 25th just to get that consolation prize of
Yes.
Animal Crossing 2019. That's when it's coming. Stay tuned for E3, you know?
Yes, true.
Um, so yeah, I think still 2019. I'm still pumped to play, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be so much fun.
Oh,
So let's go ahead and move into Haken's Villager Corner. So, for those of you who don't know, every week we ask our patrons on Patreon a question and they answer it. This week's question is: how do you feel about adding more jobs outside of mayor in Animal Crossing Switch? So, this question I came up with because I get a lot of comments on YouTube, and a lot of them are people agreeing with things and people disagreeing with things. Last time, I think we talked about cooking, for example.
yes.
That's a very divisive topic for a lot of people. And then this is another one that I found was a little bit divisive. It wasn't as
Oh.
divisive as cooking, but a lot of people are against jobs, or I guess adding job systems in
Mhm.
Animal Crossing, and some people are totally for it. So before we get into these answers, Sergio, how do you feel about doing different jobs in Animal Crossing?
Oh, I would absolutely love it. Like when you're able to work at the coffee shop at least a little bit part time, it was amazing. And I definitely want to see more things like that. I also mentioned the possibility of maybe uh, if you're the mayor and you decide to step down, maybe you're able to decide, okay, now Poncho is gonna run town for a little while, and you really don't know how things are gonna go, so you might have to rerun for office later on. I kind of want to see something like that, or for sure at least more jobs, either more like time consuming jobs that you have to be at pretty much every day, or just part time ones. Anything, the more things to do every day, it's always way better and more awesome.
Yeah, it would be pretty interesting to hear kind of, I guess, see your position as mayor be a challenge to get.
Yeah.
Somebody just comes out of nowhere and wins the race. So that'd be pretty fun. For me, I'm for jobs. I mean, I like the role as mayor, but I don't think you necessarily need to be mayor to be able to develop the town. I think
Mhm.
there are different options to that you can or different jobs you can take on to do that same type of thing. And you could always have multiple jobs. Maybe you just build on to the skills that you have.
Yes. Mhm, mhm.
So and like you mentioned, working at the coffee shop part-time was fun. It was just a really nice, cool thing that you could do that was extra for building a public works project. So
Yes.
and that would be really great. Like if you're building other public works projects that add more businesses to your town, and then you can work at those and just learn little extra things about the characters, that's great for me. I love
Yes, imagine if I could somehow work with KK on anything, that's my job right there. Done. I'm
it.
ready.
That's true. I'd just be his roadie, and and the goal of the game will be to take all his gear and set it up before showtime,
I'm
before sound
good.
check.
Yeah, someone else can be major. I'm set.
Yeah, that's the only game. That's the only job you really need. You know what? We need an Animal Crossing rhythm game
Oh, yes.
because I know you love rhythm games, and you'd obviously get to play music with KK Slider. That'd be so fun.
Yeah.
So let's go into these answers. We've got quite a few, but yeah, do you want to go first, Sergio?
Sure. Our first answer this week is by Will B. And he says, I would love for there to be more jobs. You could get one at OK Motors if it's in the new game, or even at the police station or Resetti's business. You could earn bells and incorporate it into your daily schedule. Overall, I think it would be great for there to be more jobs in the new game. OK Motors, that's the best idea, Will. You got it.
Yes, I need OK Motors in the next
Yes.
game. This is why I need campers in the next game. I just want there to be a reason to have OK Motors there. And I'm sure they'd have some fun little game that you could play as a job there.
Yes.
Yeah. Sarah says, I think it's a great idea as long as they're able to keep the jobs balanced. I want to have plenty of things to do, like we do as mayor. It'd be interesting to see our villagers participate too, and maybe have some part-time jobs of their own.
Ooh.
This is another thing I want. Like I want my villagers to be able to work because right now I have no idea how they're paying for their home. I have no idea how they're paying for all the furniture they have. I don't I just want to feel like they are in a stable position. They've got a career going for them. And yeah, I want them to be able to work.
Yes, that would be amazing. And they could rotate jobs, encouraging you to do the same, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe they move in, they don't have a job yet, but you find them a job or they get a
Ooh.
job and say it's at Timmy and Tommy's, and then all of a sudden Timmy and Tommy's used to close at like 9 p.m. Now it stays open till 12
Ooh.
a.m. because you've got somebody who could close the store later, you
Yeah.
know? So I think that'd be fun.
Oh, that would be so amazing. Great answer. Next, we have Bunny. Bunny says, I think we still need a major job for the main character, but I love the idea for more part time jobs, like working at the cafe in New Leaf. Maybe we could get a job designing homes or running our own shop. Maybe designing clothes for the Able sisters. I wouldn't want to have to choose between these jobs and being major, but it would be great if you could do a bit of everything. Yes, I agree. Like if you could change, or maybe you just want to do it all, and you're the major, and you design, and you run the shop, it would definitely keep you busy.
Yeah, like I'm saying, like the more you add, the more years I get out of this game. So yeah, and it's so fun to do like clothes tailoring type of jobs too. It makes me think of Fantasy Life. I had a lot of fun
Oh,
playing with like the different job systems in that game. So I'm for it, especially designing new homes and stuff.
oh
That's really fun.
yes.
So Emily with one Y says, I'd be all for that. I loved the job we had at Brewster's Cafe in New Leaf. Hopefully, it would be a job we would be able to get early on so we could earn some bells in the beginning stages of the game instead of having to wait to unlock the cafe. That's true too. Like we have to wait quite a while to get a job in Animal Crossing New Leaf. Um, and it's kind of the same way with like one of your complaints before where you could not hear KK perform at the beginning of New Leaf,
Right.
So if you see his career develop too, that's a job. Like him playing
Ooh,
music, that's his job. If you
yes.
see him start out playing in front of, some the museum maybe, or and then he upgrades to some other place like the Roost, and then from there he's like, I can build my own club now. And so I think it'd be really awesome to see that transition for a character.
Yeah, and maybe you don't start as a major this time around. You have to start working on the shops first, and then you kind of work different jobs in town, and then eventually you build up to major. So you can say, I've been through it all. I have the right to be major now.
Yeah, definitely. Because then, you get to know how the town works and everything, and you really earn
Yes.
that position.
Yeah, for sure. Next answer is by Emily with two E's, and she says, "Oh, I would love it. I was a huge fan of Fantasy Life and was so happy to pick what I wanted my life to be. It was really cool in New Leaf to be able to work part time at the Roost as a barista. It would be really nifty to be able to work part time at the retail stores, post office, and Able Sisters. Then maybe be able to work towards certain careers. It doesn't have to go that in depth, but I would love to at least have some job or career aspect." That's true. And that just adds more to the daily progress that you make in Animal Crossing or even weekly. Just something that, like we've always saying, that adds more playability to the game.
Yeah, yeah. And I also like that she brought up Fantasy Life because that's got like a fun kind of system that's focused around working different jobs and everything.
Right.
So Tab says, yes, more jobs sound great. I'd love to work for Cyrus customizing furniture, work for Gulliver on one of his adventures, or
Ooh.
breeding hybrids for Leaf. So many possibilities. Oh man, these are so cool. Okay. Working for Cyrus, awesome. Breeding hybrids for Leaf, awesome. But going on adventures with Gulliver is what got me for sure.
Yes.
Because I'm always like, I would not mind to have special areas that we go to get different items that are rare during other parts of the year, like mushrooms or, getting more ores and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think it would just be really cool to be able to do that, be able to go to a different location where you're doing some job for some extra bells.
Yes, yes, for sure. I would love to be sort of a joke tester for Dr. Strunk and have him tell his jokes, and I would tell him, this one is terrible. Use it.
Yeah, definitely. That would be great.
Next, we have an answer by Quantrell Tobal, and he says, I'll pass. I didn't find Brewster's job in the cafe very fun, so I doubt selling clothes at the Ables or items for the Nooks or Gracie would be any better. However, if there if there was some happy home designer type design job at Nooks Homes for villagers who don't live in your town, I'll take that. That's more of an engaging job than Brewster's barista.
Yeah, and I think that's a good route to go because, for some people, the doing a different job like that is not as fulfilling an experience as being mayor.
Yes.
Um,
And it's a good point that he brings up about the design job because that's from Happy Home Designer, so it's not really too much of a stretch at all.
yeah, and that game was like, that was built around that being your job. That was
Yes.
built to be fleshed out in a way that made the game, a game.
Yes.
So yeah, I guess I agree with that. I feel like if if it's going to be jobs that replace or give you some sort of incentive to play as something else other than the mayor, then I think they're going to need to be fleshed out for sure.
Yes, for sure.
So Zekin says, more mini games slash more ways to make money are always welcome in my book. It helps break up the daily routine and gives the animals a bit more personality if done like Brewster's mini game. And yeah, that's what I was saying before. Like, I really like getting a little bit more information about the characters and getting to meet a little more,
Something more to add to the wiki page of each one.
Yeah, definitely.
Next, we have Sasha505, and she says, I would love that. It would give us more things to do. I would prefer extra jobs just like when you're working at the Roost. As long as I can decide whether I do or don't want to do a job that day, it should be fun. I wonder what type of jobs they could do. Working in a shop or restaurant could be fun, but what other jobs could be fun? I wonder. And would the jobs be mini games, or would they be more about getting to know your villagers, like in the Roost? I think I like both. As long as the job doesn't make it feel like it's a different game, it still needs to feel like Animal Crossing. Yes, that's a good point, and I think the big part of that is that it has to involve the villagers so that it stays a cohesive community. You like your job because you're working with the villagers that you come to love.
Yeah, definitely. It needs to be something that builds that community, like you said.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's fun. So Medi says, as long as they're not dedicated careers you have to attend to every day slash week, then I'm all for it. Anything similar to the Roost is good with me. I'd love to get actual bells for it too, or special items you can only get through those jobs. Maybe you could run around town and deliver clothes for the Able sisters, or play a cleaning mini game at Club LOL. I'm all for it. So yeah, this is a good point. Like the one true fun thing about the Roost is that like you get special items that you don't normally get
Yes.
when you play that mini game. And you know, the ultimate prize is those Brewster gyroids, which are so cute and must-haves for everybody's collections, you know?
Yes, for sure. And it's nice to get money, and if you have more part-time jobs, you're gonna basically be able to progress to the game faster. But I think special items would be almost a requirement just to sort of to encourage you to try all the jobs as much as you can.
Yeah, I think probably prefer special items
Yes.
to
Yes.
money, but that's me.
No, I agree. The next answer is by Grizzly Nina, and she says, I would love it. The more to do in Animal Crossing Switch, the happier I will be. Yes, and I think this brings us back. We're gonna need as much as we can do because these games are gonna be taking quite a while, it seems. So every little bit helps. Every little bit is very engaging, and we just love every content that Animal Crossing has. So yes, every little thing they can add, bring it on.
Yeah, definitely. So Trevi Boo says, I feel like there's been plenty of time between games for them to have come up with a great way to incorporate side jobs or quests for other villagers or shop owning NPCs. In my opinion, it could add another layer to the game and a little extra to do. Since the fandom is on the fence with this, maybe the side jobs would be exactly that and not pertinent to the actual gameplay, like helping out at the Roost. And yeah, I mean, that's a good point too. Like, a lot of people you can't deny that the mayor role was what made Animal Crossing New Leaf as great as it is.
Yes.
Like that's a huge improvement to the gameplay and what you can do in the game itself and what you could customize. So I feel like people just don't want that to go away, and I don't
Mhm.
either. Like
No, right.
if these jobs are going to be more of like a replacement to the mayor, then I'm gonna need them to give me the same access to the same power that I had before.
Right. And our last answer for this week is by Dragon. And he says, I'm okay with the idea of more part time jobs so long as they're optional and you're free to do them any day you choose to, like the Roost. However, it does feel like a cool idea that kind of should be locked behind something, the way the cafe is. Realistically, I don't see more than a couple of new jobs that they could add while keeping them as separate, significant upgrades to your town. I assume the equivalent of the market street would be separated from this, like the cafe was. So, yeah, it's an interesting point that Dragon is saying. It should be optional and it should be sort of lockable. And I agree because that just adds more playability.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's something that you need to earn, and I
Right.
feel like it would be if they add it to different shops because it would be, you know, like the shop wasn't always available for you, so you just couldn't work there. So I think it'd be like a natural thing that adds more to the game and, you know, something you earn over time.
Right, and it would be interesting because they would have to balance it so that the people that are really not interested, they're not gonna miss out on something really big. So it would just be maybe a couple of little special items, but it shouldn't really require you to do a job that you may not want to unlock a new area of the town or a special shop. It should be balanced, just in case.
Yeah, definitely. So, did you have anything else to say about the show today?
I am so pumped. I'm back. I want to say I'm back to 2019 camp. You know what? I am until E3.
Awesome. Yeah, that's where I am. I don't think we have to worry for now, so I think it's going to be good. And I'm just excited to see it. And like I said, I took a break this weekend just to get my mind kind of out of it, because I feel like I've been way too tense about like I just need news, you know.
Yes.
So now I took a break. I was playing other games. I was not thinking about Animal Crossing all the time, and I think it'll be good. It'll be good for when I go back to work tomorrow too. And
Nice.
yeah, just do that. Thank you all so much for listening. If you want to be a patron and have your voice heard in these Haken Villager Corners, please visit patreon.com/ChewiePlaysNintendo. For just $1, you can support our show, get tons of cool things, and you can see our current goals to improve the show and our content. One of those goals has changed, and it's pretty cool. It's all about getting new artwork that is Animal Crossing related and for Haken. So hopefully you can all see that, and yeah, it's only if you want to. We don't make anybody do it. So, yeah, it's out of your generosity. And if you're watching or listening on YouTube, please leave a comment about whether or not you played Population Growing. And let us know if you think Animal Crossing Switch is getting delayed or not. And please leave a review of the show wherever you're listening. It helps the show gain some visibility and allows our community to grow. And once again, thank you for listening, and we hope you have a great week.
Goodbye, everybody.